And welcome everybody to God in the Timber podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Scott. Pull up a seat. Let's talk a bit. And welcome back to God in the Timber podcast. Thank y'all for an awesome another week to be able to do this. We are at the Mobile Hunters Expo here in Dalton, Georgia, and this is the first multi-person interview. We're all in the Airbnb. I have Anthony with Buzzard Roost, we got Jacob with Swamp Stuff, and as y'all hear me talk about Steve-O all the time, he's sitting right here on my left. So we're just going to do some quick introductions. We'll go around the table.
Yeah, so I'm Anthony with Buzzard Roost Saddles. We've been in the saddle industry for a few years now, and we've got the hottest saddle on the market right now.
That's right.
What's going on, guys? Jacob with Swamp Stuff. Came up with the Saddle Eye a year or two ago and got that product out, and now we're kind of just trying to gain some traction, and we just launched a branch clamp, and we're just trying to get those products out there and get things rolling.
And that clamp is, like we was talking about on the way home, that clamp is going to open up some doors for people that don't necessarily saddle hunt. So now you can take that clamp and put it on branches or the side of a lock-on stand, or I'm not really going to say a ladder stand that has the old rails. You can put it at the bottom of a lock-on.
That's the thing. It's an option, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's just, you came out with the Saddle Eye last year, and it took the mobile hunting industry by storm. And we talked about this at the Airbnb last year. You have to design the problem out of the scenario. So now for the people that's not saddle hunting, you design the problem out of that area with the clamp. And I respect that a lot. That's awesome.
Man, I appreciate it.
And the guy over here to my left, he don't talk a lot, but he really don't need no introduction because he has been in like multiple campfire stories of mine. Is my best friend since, 2 years old, 3 years old?
Yeah.
Mr. Steven Joyner, as y'all hear me call him on here, is Steve-O. And he was like, I want to set this podcast out because I'm not used to talking to people, but we kind of forced him to sit down with us at least, and now I'm going to force his hand and make him talk a little bit.
I got bullied.
But yeah, he don't need any introduction, but he is now the owner of mine and his old stuff before I started the podcast, which is True Roots Pursuit. And I feel like he's going to be able to take it and do some more stuff with it and let me go down this avenue. And as always, I'm here to help him out in any ways. So Anthony, let's tell the listeners. So me and Steve-O works with Buzzard Roost Saddles. We travel and do shows with them. But we have the man here, which is the co-owner of Buzzard Roost Saddles. So just tell everybody the difference in the original Buzzard Roost saddle. We didn't change the saddle for 5 years, 4 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And then we dropped a new saddle in January.
Yeah, so we basically took the old saddle, and not necessarily that there was a bunch of complaints, but there was some like, oh, I wish this was different or this was different. So we kind of compiled a list and was like, let's change some things. So we ended up adding a wider back band. We call it a back band. It's the top panel, right? So it went from 4 inches to 5 inches. The molly on that top panel is no longer at the top of that panel, because when it was when you put stuff in your pouches, it was top heavy, so it caused it to roll. So we moved it down to the center. So it's in the 3 inch mark. So it's 2, 1, and the 2. Your 1 inch being your molly. The bottom panel. Well, I'm sorry. Also at the top panel, we did a floating belt on the new reloaded saddle. On the original saddle, it was already connected to the side, so when it was kind of creating a pinch, right? But it wasn't bad enough to where people weren't buying it. Mm-hmm. So that was a flaw that people like to see. That it was a request. Like I want a rope belt or a floating belt. It's like, I'm not gonna do rope belt, but we can work on a floating belt, and that's what we came out with. The next one was the size of the bottom panel. It changed by 2 inches. A few minor changes for production wise, like the thumb loops on the old ones were big old thick,
Oh yeah,
big old thick thumb loops. They're dual purpose. You also use your leg straps. your leg straps on that old one was removable. The new ones are not, and it's for production purposes. It's just to kind of streamline everything, make it quick for us. But other than that, not much has really changed. There was like probably 5 or 6 changes that we did, and I think we made a comfortable saddle even more comfortable. And I'll die on that hill. That's going to be a hard one to beat.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. And it's not just because I work with y'all. I've been in a lot of saddles in my life. One thing that if anybody that's followed us for any given time, we dropped the suspenders in the middle of hunting season. And that was one thing that we got questioned about a lot last year at this shows was, hey, I want some suspenders.
Yeah.
And another thing we got questioned about and y'all answered to was an option for a third, pretty much a back band.
An actual back band.
An actual back band, and we do have them now also. So for the people that does listen to this, Buzzard Roost listens to what y'all have to say, and I say we because we work with them, always innovating to go to that next level.
Yeah. Even if the saddle doesn't change next year, it'll probably be another 5 years to, like I said, we're going to compile a list again and be like, what were the complaints on this saddle? And it may be 1 or 2 things, but we may, like I said, we might do a little design change or something. But again, it's hard to make a comfortable saddle even more comfortable, but we pulled it off.
Not even talking about mobile hunting. Anthony and Benny, they have a mind for this stuff, and they drop stuff randomly in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
The turkey tote.
Yeah.
It literally just come out of nowhere. And Benny was like, hey, we got a turkey tote now. And all of us is like, where did this even come from? So always follow the social medias because we don't know what's dropping. We don't know what's in Benny's mind that's going to be dropping. And speaking also on stuff that's dropping, y'all started y'all's own podcast. The Wake.
The Wake.
And so y'all check out The Wake also. And we are going to be teaming up on a few podcasts, especially whenever we hit up Pennsylvania next year. We got to kill 9 days. So it's going to be a lot of stuff to be done up there. And we've already talked about your product, so I met Jacob last year, me and Steve-O met Jacob last year. And this is a Louisiana crabber. Just so y'all know, Buzzard Roost is from Louisiana. Swamp Stuff is from Louisiana. And he was telling us all about them crabs last year. So how did you go from crabbing? I know you had the passion for the outdoors, but how did you go from crabbing to be like, you know what? I want to make something to jump into the saddle game, into the mobile hunting game.
Man, that takes us way back to 2010, 2012. What's really crazy is I had a company called Swamp Studs at the time, and that was before Swamp People was even out. Like Swamp People wasn't even a thing yet. That just goes to show you, just ever since I was just young, the fire in my life for the swamp, the love for the swamp that I have. It's always been there. So let's fast forward to present day in the sense, and you have this mobile hunting world now, especially with that mobile approach compared to I guess more of the private lands, as many public land hunters as there are now. But anyway, coming into that game, I've always tried to film my hunts and my adventures while in the swamp, and it's kind of how the Swamp Stuff came about because it just includes everything. And anyway, I wanted to share those hunts, right? How to do that? Well, we didn't have that mobile gear that just made it convenient at the time. It was always kind of like a little bit more complex camera arms, stuff that a little bit more bulkier, a little bit more skill to run to try to actually capture it all on film. And then that led to the saddle eye when the saddles came out. It's kind of where that idea came from. I was just on a hunt one day. I had my phone on a little clamp, generic universal clamp at the time. And I actually filmed a hog hunt with it, a successful hog hunt, and that's kind of where the idea stemmed from for the saddle eye. And then from there, fast forward, with the branch clamp coming out, Anthony, you hit it on the head. You're like listening to the community, right, and the innovation. So this time last year at the Dalton, Georgia Southern Mobile Hunters Expo show in 2024. The amount of remarks I heard for somebody looking for a product of such, right? Anything along these lines. as the branch clamp. And the options were very limited, so I just saw an opportunity there, and so we came up with the branch clamp, and man, today was a success.
Oh, and not so we just came back from eating, and Jacob, I jumped in the truck with Jacob, and I handed him my phone to go to the Airbnb, and I was like, yeah, just throw it on your dash, and he puts it on there. He has it hung from his rearview mirror as the phone holder in your vehicle.
As the phone holder in your vehicle. It
multi-purpose.
just opens the options. The options are limitless. The funny is a guy today, I said something about, I said, look, you shoot you harvest the deer this year. I said, you can take the clamp. There's always a sapling, half inch to an inch tall. Inch big, right? And 3-4 foot tall. So you stick it on there, you put your phone, you take your picture of yourself, and you're by yourself. It's literally, it's your second person almost. And he's like, I would have never thought of that. And I'm like, I didn't even think at the time that you have to explain that kind of stuff, because you think, hey, you can clamp it on something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
It offers that option. And boom, right there, he picked one up, and I was just like, man, it's a matter of time. Once it gets out.
And so Mr. Steve-O, I guess you can say or tell how we become at first Southern Pride Outdoors on the bow fishing boat, and transformed into True Roots Pursuit from the New York show, since you are now over True Roots Pursuit, if that's what you want to do.
I don't even know how long that was.
Dude, I believe whenever we started Southern Pride Outdoors, we was on the bow fishing boat in like 2013, 2014.
17, 18 years old, something like that.
Yeah, 17. And I bought a GoPro because we was doing, for a visual representation, at that time, me, Steve-O, and our good friend Derek, I've talked about him on the podcast, we're all 300 plus pounds at this time on a 14-foot John boat. And if you saw us going down the water with all three of us sitting on the front of it, the motor is out of the water.
It was surfing.
And it was ridiculous. We painted that boat to look like a bass boat. Had all kind of nice stuff.
Painted
And
black, had red flake in it.
oh, it was great. But I want to say I bought the GoPro because I just wanted to be like, we talked about this today. We was at Walmart and he's like, I bet you won't buy it. And I was like, cha-ching. Yeah. And
Kyle was really dumb with his money back then.
I'm done with my money now. But we put we went to the World Deer Expo and found this little thing that went on a stabilizer and mounted the GoPro to it. And through this, we all dipped at the time, and all you hear through the whole video is the whole time. Well, we was trying to come up with the name, and all of us being 300 pounds was like Fat Boys Outdoors or Waterloo Boys Outdoors from Waterloo. And Derek at the time didn't dip, he chewed tobacco. And he pulled out the chewing tobacco and he said, Southern Pride. And that's where Southern Pride Outdoors originated from. And I can tell how we changed it to True Roots because of the New York.
Well, we went to, where was that?
Vernon Center,
New York last year with Buzzard Roost, Benny. And everybody up there, they was digging like the shirts we had on that said Southern Pride, or I think I had a hat that said Southern Pride at the time. They're like, that's just not, you can't sell that merchandise up here. And that really just opened our eyes to, okay, we have limited ourselves to a certain circle down south. Mm-hmm. So we changed it to True Roots Pursuit, just to open up that circle, I guess.
And the way I came up with True Roots Pursuit is the old Southern saying, stay true to your roots. So you still got that Southern feel, that Southern mentality behind it. And I guess that means to us, like, we still have that, because it started out that long ago as Southern Pride Outdoors, and we hated to change the name because that was our identity since 2013. But we still had that Southern feel on it with the True Roots. So I literally just texted him that day that I decided on that name. I was like, hey, do you want to change the name to this? And he's like, I guess so. It's okay. I like it. And now you are the sole guy that's running it.
Yeah, I've done a terrible job here lately. So.
Well, I was going to ask, what's next? What are we doing?
I don't know. I want to get more content. that's my main thing. I want to try to film, get content. And Jacob's saddle eye, I love that thing.
Your saddle eye got me in trouble last year. I ain't gonna lie to you.
So
I've transitioned into more of a hybrid hunter, like I was telling you. I'd still use, with a hybrid setup, you still have the option to use the saddle. I actually take my stand and put a pad on the bottom of the seat, so I have my knee pad still. But last year I went to, I was hunting public a lot by myself last year, and you know how we talk about all them midday lulls, you turn that football game on with the saddle eye. I took my branch platform in
Operator error.
Oh, it wasn't operator error. It was Tennessee football error because they was playing and they was playing good.
Man, look, those these Georgia guys love their football too.
Oh, yeah.
I know a couple of them walked out that door and they gonna see more football games than they gonna see deer. I can promise you that.
I put that saddle eye up there and I'm sitting on the branch platform. It's done hit that midday low. I done pulled that back band all the way up and I am relaxing. Got my bow sitting up on my hanger, and I turn on Tennessee football, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm going to town watching it, and I see movement out of the corner of my eye to the right, and I'm like, where did that deer come from? Because how narrow this ridge is, she either has to hit the side of the hill 25 yards away from me, or she has to walk underneath me. And by the time I notice the movement, she's about 40 yards out in front of me. I'm like... Click, turn my phone off. I was like, I guess I need to actually pay attention to hunting right now. So it got me in trouble, but it's an amazing adventure. I love it. Like I told you, since I've transitioned to the hybrid,
Man, I appreciate it.
I sold my saddle eye since I transitioned to the hybrid just because I'm always either sitting down with my tether over my shoulder and you can't have it right there on your shoulder.
Right.
Or whenever I come back up, I was having to re-clamp it. And like I told you, I'm going to get one of the branch clips. That way I can keep it as a secondary view.
Yeah.
And I can go up there and, like you said, what did you say last year? You're 3 buttons away from filming you hunt.
That's it. If that.
Yeah, but yeah, it got me in trouble. But it was fun.
Three buttons away too many. I can't even. I have it on the record thing, and all I gotta do is hit the record.
Oh,
and I still miss. I still don't do that.
I'm gonna hit record. After that, it's all up to the error.
The one
we
time
worried
I
about
did,
the error at that point.
Yeah, the one time I did. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be perfect, right? I got it set up, and the deer's coming this way, right? And I'm in a good spot, take a shot, and the deer stops, and I'm like, looking at my phone. Okay, I can see that, and then it starts cutting by me. No, so I either take the shot on the deer, or I adjust my phone, and then try to take a shot. So I took the shot on the deer, so I got some good footage, but all you see is a shadow of me doing this, because that was when I shot that 10 point.
Right.
So yeah.
I just come up with I don't know if you've tested it out like this or not, but turkey hunting with the branch clamp, being able to clamp it on the barrel of your shotgun, because I went and filmed. I can show y'all the video after this. I sent him the video right after it happened. I had my tripod set up with my phone turkey hunting this year, and I mean, I'd go one single cluck and these 2 birds was firing, and I can hear them spitting and drumming coming down the road. Well, I'm like, they're going to follow the road all the way out. So I'm set up with my barrel pointed towards the road. They drop off the side of the road and come out like 10 yards on the other side of the road. Well, I'm already set up on the road, so I got to turn. Well, I love content, so I need to get it in frame. So I reached down there and barely turned my camera on the tripod with my phone. I film everything off my phone. And no sooner I turned, I threw the barrel back up, and that old gobbler raised his head up. He saw that movement, and he was gone. So you can connect that to the barrel of a shotgun with it hanging off to the side the way that you have the arm.
Right.
And when you move, it's going to be in frame. I don't know if you thought about that yet, but
No, we haven't put it on a barrel yet. I'm curious to see what it would do.
Yeah,
I'd
see
say
what the footage would
it works out great because 9 times out of 10 you're sitting down next to a tree and right next to you is a sapling.
Yep.
So you literally clamp it right there, and that was part of our approach going into it.
even dove hunting, because
all
it
of
is so hard to film dove hunting.
You go
Put
down
that
a
to
rabbit
your
hole
gun.
and you start saying, man, what you could use the branch clamp for.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
we'll be
awesome.
here all night talking about
That's
that.
right.
So we had our first day today, and I don't know about y'all, but this is the busiest Friday or busiest first day of a show that I have ever worked with Buzzard Roost Saddles.
Yeah, it was.
What did y'all think overall of the show? Besides just being busy, like, we had a lot of people that's never really been in saddles come through on Friday, when most time we have them come in on Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, what I liked today was we had a bunch of repeat customers, which we don't typically have. Actually, we had a lady come in who bought a saddle last year, come in, seen our custom one sitting there, and was like, okay, now I want that one now. So she sat in it, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm taking this with me." Well, what's funny, what made it even better, she's like, "That's not going to fit me. I'm a medium waist and an extra large on the bottom." And I went over there and I looked. I was like, "Medium waist." I looked at the bottom, I was like, "Extra large." I was like, "Fate have it. It's going to fit you. Let's try it on." So she tried it on. She's like, "I really don't want to sit in it because I'm going to want to buy it." And then her husband walked up and he was like, "Just sit in it. You can be fine." She shot on. She's like, "Okay, bring it up. What's the damage?" And then she bought they bought 2 shirts and he got a hat, I think. So.
And what was funny about that, I told you this at the expo, or while we were at the show, I was working with this guy on the post, and he's like, "Y'all make an openable bridge." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Greg Staggs, I watched his videos, and I noticed that y'all do that." And I was like, "Yeah, we have one on that mannequin right there, and it's right before the woman walks up." I was like, "Once we get done and I show you all the features, I'll grab that one off the mannequin, and I'll show you the how it opens and stuff." He's like, yeah, let's do that." Well, the woman comes and gets in it. She's right behind us. And he's looking at it. He's like, that's an absolutely beautiful saddle. And I was like, "Hey, we do custom orders." And we start talking, and I was like, "Yeah, let me show you that bridge now." And I look back, and it's gone. I did not know the woman bought it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, she walked off with it." I was like, "Well, man, we don't have another one here right now that has the bridge that opens up." But Greg done a perfect review on it, so you can check it out. What would be y'all's? Well, how'd your day go? I didn't ask that.
Man, what I thought was super cool about today is even when I walked in, I noticed it's more spaced out to y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is. They rented last year. We only had half of that expo center.
Right. That makes more sense.
Yeah. We got the whole room now.
Man, I felt the space, and it was nice to be able to breathe, not even realizing that we needed that. Right. Just I guess in an event like this. So first off, I thought that was great. So great work by the Mobile Hunters crew. Chris and Josh. And then the other thing was obviously very busy. You know, what they're in their 3rd year now with the expos.
4th. This is our 4th year.
That makes a little more sense from a conversation earlier. But yes, I was up at both shows last year, but this is only my 2nd year doing these expos. But yeah, the vendors, handful more vendors too, right? Yep. Man, the equipment at these shows is just as good as it gets. You don't get this at sportsman shows. Some of the ones that I've been to around our area, I guess. So it's just unique in its own. Not only for mobile hunters, and I don't think people understand that. Right? They're selling everything. If you like to whitetail hunt, this is the expo to be at.
And I feel like that's one of the things that they stand apart on their expo is y'all work the World Deer Expo, and we was talking to a guy about it today, and it's not throwing shade towards the World Deer Expo because it's it's world known.
Yeah. But they push some people through there. So.
Yeah, they're pushing
I've never been to one of those. I hear that's a great one to go to.
It's a good one to be a vendor at, but to be a
consumer.
It's tight.
Yeah, because it's back to.
What's cool is I was going to mention this is we get to see what the event center in a sense is going to do tomorrow too.
Right.
Exactly as you said is what I was getting to. As busy as it was today for a Friday.
Oh yes.
Man, what's it going to be tomorrow?
It's going to be insane tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we had a couple people come up that were at the World Deer Expo. I didn't get to go this year, and most time now, whenever I go to a show, I'm not a consumer anymore because I'm working with y'all. Yeah. And they was like, it was more like a yard sale. Like you wasn't having hunting related stuff. It was stuff that was all over the nation, like fudge and like food and stuff like that.
Massagers.
Yeah, massagers. The last year, I told you this, the last year that we went, no sooner than we walked through the door, there was people like, "Hey, you need to buy this back massager." And I'm like, I'm here for a hunting event. Why do I need a back massager? Which, don't get me wrong, I would take a back massager any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But the thing is this is a specific, we don't have, at this show, we don't have that person over here cooking fudge. Like we have that Mamoo's Kitchen is the only food that I know, and it's related to hunting. Then we have that sauce people back there behind Troy or beside Troy and them they're affiliated with the outdoors, and it's like, hey, this sauce goes good with this type of venison and stuff like that. So you are getting like the food and stuff like that on there, but it's not a back massager. It's not a chiropractor buying a booth and being like, "Come over
fishing
here."
gear and boats and tractors.
Right.
And,
That's the stuff I'm
targeted
thinking of.
towards your whitetail hunters.
Yeah.
And that's something that they have capitalized on really well. So their first show was just I think you went to their first ever show. I didn't. It was in Ohio, and that was just a one-person show or one-time show. Then they went to Chattanooga and Kalamazoo the following year. Last year they done 3 shows: Dalton, Georgia, Kalamazoo, and I can't remember where PA. I don't remember where it was at in PA. And then this year they're going back down to 2 shows, which is Dalton, Georgia, and back to Ohio.
Yep, that's correct.
So me and Steven won't be at the Ohio show, but Buzzard Roost and Swamp Stuff will be there, and also Broadside Camo, which we'll be doing hopefully an interview with him tomorrow. So this is where it starts getting a little bit more of the outdoor talk. Like I call these the campfire talks. Like we're just talking, having fun right now, but I want to hear, it could be a short story, it could be a long story, I don't care. Just an outdoor story that it's ingrained in your mind. And I've already told mine before on this podcast, but I'll hit some high notes about my daddy taking you hunting. It was actually the last episode that was released. I love that story. So just any outdoor story that you just absolutely comes to mind, burn in your memory.
I got one that I really like, I guess, to share would be, I guess first the background, right, is I've always been told it's crazy. It's one thing to teach a child to go out and hunt, but it's another thing to teach a grown man to do it. And I was in a position where I was basically a grown man being taught to hunt. And then I was fortunate enough to do that for somebody else last year. He harvested his biggest buck. He's never shot a buck, or never shot a rack buck, I guess I should say. He shot a really, really good 8-point in North Louisiana. And when we got, and I was like, dude, you shot a good buck for out here. And he just didn't, he was just like, oh, are you sure? Didn't quite understand what he shot. And it wasn't until we got back to camp and we started skinning it and people were coming up asking questions and wanting to take pictures of it. And then he was like, looking at me like, dang, I really did shoot something. Like people were coming up and shaking his hands. And so for me to see that from another grown man was like, that's pretty cool. Because now he's like, I did this. Thank you for helping me do this. And he was just a super appreciative. So that to me was like probably my most memorable hunt.
That's the thing about it is we talked to people in New York that they're already hunting, but they're like, I'm too old to saddle hunt. And this is not just a saddle hunting podcast, but they're like, I'm too old to saddle hunt. Well, then we'd have a guy that's like 70 come up and he's like, hey, I've been using this saddle for so-and-so. And the guy's like, you use a saddle? Yeah, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
So that my takeaway from your story is you're never too old to start something.
Yeah. And he did it out of a saddle, but not even out of a Buzzard Roost saddle. he said he was got set up and he was watching and he can hear things what he thought were deer. I said, yeah, it's probably squirrel deer, right? Because we all get that.
The 130 squirrels.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then it was probably 9:30 and pow. And I was like, dang. I knew it. As soon as he did it, I was like, good job, dude. And so I didn't even have to ask him. I just got down and I walked to his tree. I said, where's it at? And he said, it's over there. So I said, come on down. We'll go get him. And just the excitement on his face, like when you think kids smile big when a grown man does something like that, they're just cheesing ear to ear, you're just like, yeah, dude, good job, So yeah, it was fun. I'd like to tell another one real quick. So me and Benny were hunting one night, same place, North Louisiana, and I had my brother-in-law out there for the first time, and we put him up in a tree. He's like, don't move, stay here. When it gets dark, let us get down. We'll come to you, and we'll walk out with you, so you don't have to get lost or worry about being by yourself or whatever. Well, halfway to my brother-in-law, we hear something. We're like, oh, what the? So we look in, and I turn my flashlight, and then I always carry my bow on my back, but my pistol is usually on my hip because you can carry your pistol out there as long as you have a concealed carry. I think that law's changed, but anyways, I had my pistol on my hip, and just happened to be that I didn't have it on me that night. And my bow was on my back and Benny's bow was on his back, and we're walking and that we're just keeping an eye on this dang pig, and all of a sudden that pig looked at us. I'm telling you, that thing was the devil, because it freaking looked at us, made a weird noise, and ran straight to us, dude. I ain't never seen Benny scour 2 little trees at one time. I was like, bro, what are you doing? And when he got that, luckily the pig come up and made a sharp 90 and went the other way, because that thing would have just messed us up. But he said, I said, what were you doing? He's like, dude, what were you doing? I was like, I was fixing to ride it. Like, I'm going to jump on it. So that's probably another, like, a funny one for me. Could have been bad, but it wasn't. It was, now that we can talk about it, it was pretty funny. Like, imagine just another grown man jumping on top of a pig and just all the way out of there, you know?
Oh, what was that? There used to be like a fire video of that. It was not a pig, it was a cow. This little boy's walking out there to the cow, and the mom's like, "What are you doing?" And the dad goes, "I paid him $20. He would jump on the back of that steer over there." And this little boy, he's probably 5 years old. He creeps up on the steer and jumps on the back of it, and that steer bucks him off of it. And he's like, "Well, he got $20," and then the video cuts off. Like,
Yeah.
we would do some crazy thing in the woods. I'm here
Oh,
to
yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Jacob, what's
Yes, sir.
what's your memorable story, or just any hunting story or outdoor story? It ain't even got to be hunting. I know you always on the swamp.
Oh yeah, all about that swamp. Speaking of swamp, it's funny is over seasons, phases, reasons, whatever you want to refer to it as, you got a new favorite, right? Every year brings new adventures, new memories. So I'll take you back to last year. A buddy and I, he's a big duck hunter. I'm a big deer hunter. So every now and then our routes will collide. We'll end up in town for this, couple of days, whether I'm at my camp or he's at his camp, or we're both around the house. Anyway, I got a few spots around the house, and one of them I was on a couple deer. And the first time I used the branch clamp, I filmed the 6-point that I let go. And he wasn't the deer I was after. And nice 6-point, especially for the swamp down there. And anyway, I'm like, a couple days later, it's like, boy, been hunting hard. I ain't been seeing the deer I've been after, or another one of such. And anyway, I'm like, did I really want to pass that 6-point up? But it's all hindsight, right? Well, lo and behold, a few days later, my buddy, I talk, and he's like, "Hey, I'm in town, whatever." So hey, let's make a hunt together. It's like, sweet, dude. And just a lot of people aren't putting in the work. All right, you got a P-row for 45 minutes. Trek the edge of a marsh for another 20 minutes, and then get to the trees you want to get to. And so anyway, we're walking back there, and I'm like, "Look, dude, they got a 6-point. I got him on camera. I saw him the other day. I had him in the crosshairs at 60, 80 yards. I said, he's got a target on his head. Shoot him." And I'm like, "You're looking for deer meat, he's looking for love. It's just gonna happen sooner or later,
yeah.
And what's funny is didn't realize it at the time. We were walking in, we actually bumped some deer out of one of the first little bedding areas, and that's the only one we got to get past to really get in the right tree. The access is just so hard. There's really no other options. You just hope they're not in that bed that night, right? So anyway, they take off running, and I look at him like, dang, hopefully it was just a doe or two. So anyway, I go, and he's never been in a tree, but he's pretty much an arborist. So he's real familiar with, saddle gear, but not necessarily in particular to saddle hunting for whitetail deer, right? So anyway, he climbed. I had already had some presets hung. He climbs up the tree, and I start walking to the back stand, and it's already 15, 20 minutes after sunrise, and so you can kind of see. I'm halfway to my stand. I'm probably not 150, 200 yards from him, and I'm around a corner from him, so I can't really see him. All of a sudden, I feel my phone vibrate, and he says, 6-point out in front of me. Close your ears, and I'm like, no way, I'm like, what? Maybe he's not lying, So I'm like in between. Do I turn around and wait? Do I, I can see my stand in my tree 80, 100 yards in front of me. He's about 200 yards behind me. And I'm just like, and it's not going to be that loud. I'm around the corner, and and I'm like, no way, dude. He just killed that 6-point. And so anyway, I'm like, dude, there's no way this just happened, right? It ain't even 20 minutes. I ain't even got in the tree yet. And anyway, ding, done. I'm like, oh, dude, this is great. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make you pay for it now. So I'm going to climb in my tree for a little while.
Now you just sit there. We'll be done in a
That's
minute.
exactly right. It's like, dude, we'll just hunt till 8:30. It's about 11 o'clock, and I'm like, all right, I'm coming down. We'll go ahead and get you. I don't remember if I waited that long, but you know what's funny is he had never used the saddle eye. He'd heard about it and seen it 100 times, but never really used it. And he said he didn't even have time to get in the tree and clipped in. He said he clipped in. He said he leaned back. He heard bagloosh, bagloosh, bagloosh. He turned around and he pulled the rifle out. I said, "Oh yeah, you're killing it, right? Yeah, this the scenario didn't quite line up." And but kind of back just to the reliving the moment, right? So it was funny is because when we went over there, and a bunch of pictures, and funny you flip through that phone every now and then, especially off season when you're ready for it. You go back, it's like, man, what was it about? You're like,
And that's one thing about these expos, man, is people come up and we're constantly talking deer hunting. At these expos, we're
tell me
constantly
a
talking
story.
deer hunting.
I love a story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, look at this deer. And you grab your phone and you got, like, I have a bunch of pictures of my kids on there. Well, I start scrolling back to last season and it just, all them floods of memories, like, man, just look at this deer. And then I go all the way back to, like, one of the deer that I killed in Tennessee like 8 years ago.
Oh, yeah. It
And
never
I'm like,
ends.
and you see that picture and I can look at that picture and tell you the exact time I killed that deer, what that deer did whenever I, like, so I just...
There's memories you don't forget.
Exactly.
It's
burnt.
because they don't happen enough.
I agree.
Yes.
One of my favorite things, and I'm not throwing my wife under the bus, but I tell her this all the time. She's like, why do you love hunting so much? I was like, and my wife don't shop a lot, but the women out there that loves Target, I'm like, okay, just imagine Target only opens up for 4 months out of a year. How long are you going to stay in Target? Every single chance you get. I said, and then it closes for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's
I
a
said,
good point.
that is hunting
That's a
for
good
me.
way to put it, especially from a woman's perspective.
Exactly.
because-
That is hunting for me because it's closed for 4 months out of the year. We do bow fish some and fish a
It's
little
not
bit.
the same, though.
It's not the same. Like that adrenaline dump from I don't care if it's a spike walkout. That adrenaline dump, as soon as I see that brown, that heart starts pumping, I start shaking.
Dopamine.
If I ever lose
Can't
that
get
adrenaline
enough of
rush,
it.
I'm done hunting.
That's it.
I'll sit at home and watch football all the time then. But Mr. Steven, you got a story, and I said that I was going to say the story of my dad, but I actually got a different story about you and me.
Well, if you're going to pick on me, I'm going to pick on you. I mean, me and you've got a bunch of them. So, typically me and Kyle always hunted public land. But my wife's family had 120 acres. And let me just draw it out for you. It's a square, 120 acres. You've got the road on one side. You've got a pine thicket on one side.
I'm glad you threw in the pine thicket because the story goes through that pine
A
thicket.
cutover on the back side, and a fox pen, a tall fence on the right side that they used to keep foxes in. So, Kyle, it's a square. This was all hardwoods we was hunting. Well, he goes one way, I go one way. Went along, I got a phone call. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at.
So let me add to this story before we get too deep into it. I didn't know that there was a guy in the cutover hunting, so I knew the general area that Steve-O walked. Well, I hear, and it's that solid hit, so I knew a deer is hit. So instead of just sitting there on property I've never been before, I get down and walk through the pine thicket and get turned around and turn out into the cutover. Well, I don't have good service there, and my battery's on like 3% already because I didn't charge it. And I'm trying to be like, hey, did you kill the deer? You know, the text. Hey, was that you? Hey, did you kill the deer? No response. So I'm like, he's in the bottom. He ain't got service. Now you can finish your story. I had to throw that context in there so it don't sound near as bad.
Oh, it's still bad. It gets worse.
Oh, yeah, it does get worse.
So, I get a phone call. And you can tell when somebody's scared on the phone or whatever.
Terrified.
Well, I told him, I said, shoot, you know. So, he shot. I don't remember. I think he shot like 3 times.
I shot at that pack of coyotes I heard running through that cutover.
And he's like, my phone's almost dead. And at this point, it sounded like he was almost crying. I mean, it was just...
I never started crying, but I was
right
tearing
there.
up.
It was right there. And the next thing I know, he says, I'm calling the fire department. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I am a
Here we
firefighter, and I didn't call 911. I called the back line to get. I was like, look, just call the fire department. Like, it ain't no big thing. They
At
made
this
it a
point,
big deal.
I thought he was kidding. You know, we're in a square. I mean, if you find the cutover, turn around, go the other way. There's not very many ways you can go. Next thing I know, I hear sirens coming down the road. I said, oh my God, he has called the fire department. And it wasn't just the fire department.
They brought out state troopers, county, and everything.
Anyway, we finally found him. We walked right to him. We got him, and then we left, and the fire department called us like, "Where you at?" He's like, "Oh, they found me." No, you got to come down here. So we had to take him to meet the fire department and the state trooper. And when you call them when you're lost in the woods back home, they get pretty upset.
And what the funniest thing about that was the after fact. There's a post that goes around social media every year, and this guy will tag me in it almost every year. It says, "Not all those that wander are lost," and he'll tag me and be like, "Except for you." And I'm like, I'm never going to live this down.
Like, I don't understand how you get lost in the square.
Hey, it happened. So I get in the cutover. And at this point, I realize I'm lost. Well, I hit the cutover, and it's that gray light, dusky dark, and I can see the road through the cutover. I was like, well, if I make it to that road, I can either go left or right because the cutover stretches to do two different blacktops. Well, I'm walking through there, and I'm fine at this point. I realize I'm lost, but I'm fine. Well, I start walking. I don't realize the deep holler that's in the middle of this cutover, and this is pretty fresh cutover. I'm walking through there, next thing I know, I'm laying on my back sliding down this hill. I had them plastic rattling antlers that Primos used to have, and I was carrying them in my hand because I didn't have room on my back. So I like baseball plant my foot to jump up, and whenever I did, I throw these rattling antlers. I never hear them hit the bottom. I'm like, oh, good night. I about died. And yeah, I remember the only thing that whenever I got taken, I had to go down there and meet them. Or before that, I'm on the phone with the dispatcher. I'm like, look, it's not a big deal. Don't tell them come lights and sirens. My phone's about to die. Well, I hear the sirens going around me. They kept driving. I told her, I was like, look, tell them to stop. I will follow the sound. But they were traveling around me. Come to find out, it wasn't the fire department traveling around me. It was the fire department came up this road. The sheriff came up this road. The state trooper come down this road. So I'm hearing 3 different sirens thinking they're just driving around me. Well, since you're picking on me, I'm going to tell the story of your first bow kill. It was a year before last.
The chuckle from Steve.
It was last, and I'm proud because
He said kill, not miss. So
yeah, he didn't miss him. We're both in our saddles and we're trying to film, and I fell on the filming part because anybody that's ever filmed accidentally hit the double click on the record, like it records and then it turns off.
Always.
I didn't realize
That's
I double
why
clicked.
it's so funny is, you know how you say 3 icons away?
Yeah.
So it's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the route.
Yeah.
But that's why I always say, don't forget to hit the red button.
Yeah.
Because you'll double click it. So like, when I say that, you'll remember to hit it, but make sure it's recording. Because, dude, you start shaking when that big old doe steps out and you're trying to record it, and you'll double tap it and on off, and you think you're filming, dude, you shoot, and you will let yourself down.
yeah.
This is what happened to this story.
That's right.
Well, we're both in our Buzzard Roost saddles. We found this. We love them poplar trees that comes up and it branches off to like 4 or 5 of them. We love them trees, especially with 2 people in it, because I could be on one tree, he could be on the other tree. Well, he's sitting there and these deer come out downwind. I mean, we don't use cover spray or anything like that, but we could have been photo boys for dead downwind if we would have used it. These deers come directly downwind of us. I only see one. I don't see the other one. Well, it gets closer and closer, and I'm telling Steve, I'm like, here they come. I'm like, grab your bow. Here they come. And they're directly behind him. And this doe's standing at like 20 yards looking at me, and I carry my bow even when I'm filming. I was reaching for my bow because I'm like, Steve don't see these deer. Well, I see this deer. I didn't see the other deer. I didn't know it was 2 of them. So I'm reaching for my bow, and she sees me reach, and she jumps, 3 or 4 jumps. Well, all of a sudden, Steve-O draws back, and I'm like, what is he aiming at? I don't never see this deer through this other thicket. And Steve-O puts it through like a grapefruit-sized hole, and he's never shot at a deer with a bow before besides a crossbow. and I hear, and I realized at that moment I was not recording. I double tapped to record, so I hit record, and I got his reaction. He said, "I just missed that freaking deer." He's never heard one hit the diaphragm of a deer. I was like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "That deer is dead." But at that time, Steve-O was still pretty big. Like, he's lost a lot of weight since then. I was like, it's easier for me to climb in and out of the tree. I'm going to jump down right quick, and I'm going to go see if you hit this deer. If you didn't hit this deer, which I already knew he did, I said, we'll just climb back up and continue to hunt. I get down, and I find his arrow covered in blood. Well, I don't tell him that I found the arrow yet. I'm just like, oh, it looks like somebody takes a 5-gallon bucket, 20 yards, just dump it in. The deer's laid over. I was like, here he is. He told me before I got down, you need to take your bow with you. Don't think nothing of it. I get down, and come to find out, it was a smaller buttonhead. We thought it was 2 does, or I thought 1 doe, he thought it was a doe. It ended up being a buttonhead. That doe is standing like 10 yards behind her baby, which I hate to say it, but it was her baby. And I was like, man, if I would have brought my bow, we was going to double up on these deer, and I was going to sling that old arrow. What, 3 weeks later, I'm walking through hunting the same exact area, and I kill a doe that only has 1 ear. I'm walking down the road. I left my stuff in the tree, all my platform. I had my saddle on. I left my platform because I'm going to that tree that we killed that deer in, because I hunted it that morning. I'm going through there. Well, this cutover has a beautiful road going through it where they come through every so often, take a dozer for a fire line, for a fire break, and I can see through there, and I see a doe walking. So I knock my arrow, I take my backpack off, and I go ahead and put my release on, and I'm like, I can't wrap around this corner and shoot this deer, but there's a little cut off to the side. As soon as she gets in this thicket, I'm jumping in this cut. So I jump over there in the cut, didn't know it was 2 deer. I draw back, the first one passed through, I see the other one behind her, and she was old, gray, long old mule head doe. She steps out, I don't range her nothing, and I shoot. I hit the tree behind her. So I'm thinking I missed this deer. The arrow is sticking out of the tree. Well, I get over and it's covered in blood. I start tracking. Going through there, like another 5-gallon bucket. That old, I can't remember what broadhead I was using at the time. It sliced her up. Well, I get in there, and you know how all of us archery hunters, we want to see the exit wound, like to see how the cut diameter and stuff like that is. With a doe, you always grab the ears and flip their head over like you do when you steer wrestling. I reached down and grabbed that one ear, and I reached down and grabbed the other one, and it wasn't there. Well, come to find out, the neighbor on the private, I posted it on our social medias, and the neighbor on the private said that doe is at least 9 years old. And I was like, there's no way this deer is that old, because deer in our area don't get that old. He said, I will show you pictures. That doe was born without an ear. And I was like a coyote ripped it off or something.
Right.
No, that doe was born without an ear. And it was 9 years old. He showed me every year he had her on. He said, I was going to take her this year because she's so old that she didn't have fawns last year. So
she wasn't reproducing.
She wasn't reproducing. He's like, it was time to take her out. And I took her that year. It was awesome. Actually, because I wasn't even in the tree at my Buzzard Roost saddle, but I went ahead, because I wore it in. I went ahead and threw that Buzzard Roost saddles up there for the picture.
Man, you talk about old does, old deer. It's funny you're talking about an ear ripped off. Just as the visual to let you know it's that deer, right? Mm-hmm. So, man, back at the house, around the swamp, we struggle with hurricanes, over the years, and it's like between 4 to 6 years we usually get a banger, and she come through and rock our world. And dude, it just messes up our deer population. I think I restrict seasons just to try to help out the deer population for the tough hurricanes that come through, right? But man, years ago I used to watch a doe that had a white face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's crazy because she went through one of those storms, and I didn't even think about her right until the following year, and I'm like, dude, this place has changed. The year before, I killed 2 really good deer out of that area, and the habitat was destroyed. All the duck ponds were back open. They were full of vegetation. You had this, I call it hay grass, around the area mixed with cattails and roseaux, just thick, right? It was just a big deer producer, and it just stripped it of that, right? The deer levels were down, deer numbers are down, the bucks are just not there right now. It still hasn't recovered, and we're probably It usually takes 4 or 5 years to respond from something like that. It's just going to take longer. The does are there, but there's just, you climb up 25 foot up in a tree and you can see 500 yards. You know, you're literally hunting a 3/4 mile circle every time you get into a tall tree. But anyway, I go hunt and I see a few deer. I throw up my binoculars and it's her.
Oh.
And I'm like, man, they always say those does know how to survive. And I said, I know she's 6, 7 years old. Saw her last year, and I'm like, dude, she's got to be knocking on the door of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I'm like, unbelievable. And look, you can tell she looks like she's 90 years old.
And see, that's the thing, in my opinion, and y'all can disagree with me, it is harder to hunt an old doe than it is a mature buck.
She's there for a reason.
See, a mature buck is going to get stupid in the rut. That doe don't get stupid at all. Like, she wants to, like, by biology, she wants to be bred to reproduce, but she don't get that crazy mentality of, hey, I'm going to travel in the middle of the day like them bucks do that's been nocturnal all year. Now they're traveling in the middle of the day trying to find that hot doe. That doe is going to keep on her same pattern that she's been on forever. And it is so hard, in my opinion, to kill a mature doe. And I love to hate them. I'm going to say I love to hate them. Them old does, whenever they've been shot at before, and the first thing they do when they step in the clearing is look up in the trees and scan every single tree around you. And that's where saddle hunting benefited me a lot, is because now I'm got the tree to break up my outline. So I'm hiding behind the tree. And even with the hybrid setup, I set my stand up to saddle hunt out of. So I'm still expecting all my shots to be behind the tree. I'm just using my platform as, hey, I'm sitting here all day, middle of the day. I know I'm going to want to sit down, and I'll fold my seat down and I'll turn around and sit down for a while, keep my head on a swivel. And if that deer taking that trail that I think of, I can still come up and still draw and take the shot. So to go into like the little next part of the program, I don't know how to word all this. It's still a working matter, but the story you told, how would that help you see, we're going into like the godly talk, the Christianity talk, the story that you told, or any story, how does that help you see like your faith in the God in the Timber? That's the name of the podcast. How did that story help you see like the image of God in your hunt or in your outdoor scenario? Like, as soon as you told me the story, I just think about how being old, we talk about like Abraham him and Sarah could not have a child together. They didn't have their first child until Abraham was like 90 something years old. So we see the age in the Bible a lot, how it comes into effect. But how did that story help you see God, like the face, him lighting up, or however?
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to explain. Just like to treat others like how you would want to be treated, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's someone did that for me, and how I felt, or how they said they felt, and then to also turn around and do that same thing for somebody else and be like, yeah, that feeling was real.
It came full circle.
Yeah, that's right. And they say things like, it's kind of like our blessing in disguise, or things happen for a reason. But the guy that he and I are actually really, really good friends now, and we hunt a lot. And like that's what Benny did for me, you know. And Benny and I are really good friends, and we hunt all the time together too. So it builds something that you're not really looking for at the time, right? You gained a friendship, and you weren't even looking for it.
I think of that with in the Bible. I used to be able to quote scripture right off the top of my head, but now I've studied the Bible so much it's hard to pinpoint the verse. But iron sharpens iron, so one brother should sharpen another. So I'll think of that verse when both of y'all told the same story. Like, it's the same story but different moments. And like me and Steven, we've been best friends since we was 2 years old. Iron sharpens iron. If you put yourself in the like-mindedness of other people, you got to take what Benny taught you, teach it to somebody else. So you and Benny forged that friendship. So we talk about fire.
Sharpen that iron.
He sharpened that iron.
Right.
And it come out, and we'll go to another podcast with this. It come at a time of your life was being very difficult with your injuries.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that on a different podcast. We might hit that interview this weekend too. But and then you got to pass that along to somebody else. So you have now kindled a fire. Benny kindled a fire in you that you was able to forge your blade in, and then now you kindled a fire into somebody else that they was able to forge their blade in. So just one thing from Benny, one kindness from Benny. Now, what if this guy goes and shows somebody else?
Yeah.
And goes show somebody else. That's how the fire, and even in the Christian walk, that's how the fire of the Holy Spirit is passed along. Like, we see people in the church today where I call them white knuckle Christians, and everybody laughs at me. That's gripping the pew seat. They don't want to get out of the pew to go to the altar. It takes one person to step out, and then you can have a flood of people at that altar. Just takes one person to kindle that fire, and you don't know what the fire of the Holy Spirit is going to be doing from that point on. So what did you take from, like, how did you see God in the timber on your story, Jacob?
It's funny as you were asking us earlier before we even started, hey, if you got a scenario from a story or, a scripture. What's funny is my wife and I have been working on trying to read a little scripture at night, just say a little prayer before to go to bed. And this one stuck out the other evening. It's Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Mm-hmm. Well, it's almost like you and your best friend, right? No matter what you do or what he does, I guess you should say, you're always going to be a best friend. I mean, you grew up with each other. You have all these memories. So that's kind of what I took from that. It's just sharing that love, that I love that swamp and pursuing these animals so much that I'm actually willing to give it up, in the sense to share that. I say give it up, to share it with somebody, how you ever kind of want to perceive it. But that's kind of what resonates with me.
And see, that's how it is with me in the outdoors, and I know with Stephen in the outdoors is, it's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's exactly right.
You get to see, and I've mentioned this in a podcast a few episodes back, or it might be one that's scheduled that ain't released yet, that you get to see the beauty of God's handiwork in the outdoors. And I don't see how anybody would not just want to share that beauty with somebody, and using it with me being an outdoor minister, using that to minister to people. Like you said, y'all deal with hurricanes. After every storm, there's going to come sunshine. At some point, it might storm. We read in the Bible, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights on Noah, and then that rainbow appeared. That sun is going to come out again until God says, hey, there's no more sunshine. It's time to call my people home. That sun is always going to shine at some point. And just using that as a ministry thing is, we see some beautiful sunsets up there in North Alabama, because we are very, very hilly country up there. And I think it was 2 years ago, and I've always looked at sunrises and sunsets, and we was walking out, and Steve-O looked up, and he's like, man, that's just a beautiful sunset. I missed my chance to minister right there and just be like, that is God's hand, that's God's finger painting right there, son.
Sunrise and a sunset.
I
almost included that. I told my buddy before we left the night before, what time we want to leave. I said, as long as we catch the sun rising over the trees.
Exactly. And one of my favorite things to mention to people about hunting, and we're all outdoorsmen, and it's not just hunting, even fishing. Being there at the break of daylight, and hearing the creatures wake up,
feeling alive.
Like, it'd be dead quiet, and then you hear that squirrel, and then you start hearing them birds chirping, and it's like the woods are coming alive. Or whenever you're on a boat, and you start hearing them loons start doing that little, however they do that sound, and then you got the ducks start the wood
peacock or something.
Yeah, you hear the wood. You hear the wood duck start whistling, and it's like it is coming alive. You start seeing them fish start boiling off the bottom, come to eat them flies that's on top.
You hear them underneath those lily pads.
We don't got lily pads up here.
You ain't got no type of little vegetation that they hang underneath like a mat, where they pop the top of that water.
And not until
underneath.
Later in the summer we get that duckweed start coming up late summer that makes the mat.
That's right.
But
get underneath it and suck them bugs that's up on top of them.
During the summertime we don't have grass. Like you'll have some weed beds every now and then, but like it's nothing like that. We went and bowfished a place in Guntersville. We ain't never seen lily pads a day in our life. We did not know these things are prickly as crap underneath it. So we're going through here bow fishing, and we hit these lily pads, and it gets wrapped around our trolling motor. So we just reach our hands down in there like we always do to rip the weeds out. Yeah, we come back up with cuts on our hands from the bottom of them lily pads. Never knew that they were sharp underneath them. But yeah, and you shared a Bible verse. Anthony, you got a Bible verse you want to share?
I do. My greatest blessing in life is my children, right? And so it's Proverbs 22:6. When God brought children into your life, He gave you a new role, which was to be their teacher. Mm-hmm. So it's my responsibility to be their spiritual mentor, right? You get to kind of show them like what the person, like who they can really be, what they can really become. Give them a moral compass and why it's important. But then you can move on to like going on to Joshua 24:15 talks about how you bring God into your family. So it's very important to me. At night, we start off a prayer before bed, right? So the kids get to kind of say their prayers, and it's like, who do you want to pray for? Because I want to instill it in their mind, like, oh, I can pray for whoever I want to. It's not just like it's not something that you sit down and say, bless my brother, my dad, my mom, good night. Yeah. Like that's not what I want. I want them to actually pray for somebody. So pick somebody, pray for them, and why. So to kind of build that on such a young age that's important to me.
That's awesome, and that brings me to the verse: "Train a child up in the way that he should go, and they should not depart from it." Mm-hmm. That's always been a verse that I've tried to instill in my children. Is I'm not always going to be their friend. As parents, we're not always going to be their friend, but it's my job to be the spiritual. As a man, God put it on me to be the spiritual head of the house.
That's right.
And then the wife is supposed to submit to their husband, which a lot of people goes into a big argument about that. And it's not, it says, but men, love your wife as God loves the church. So Jesus submitted himself to this earth to die for our sins. At the same time, he loved the church. So if we show love to our wives, they won't have no problem of following our guidance, our spiritual guidance, is where that verse comes down to. A lot of people wants to use it as, oh, the wives are supposed to submit themselves to us, like be the slaves of the house. And it's not. But as parents, we're supposed to train our children up in the way they should go. And we all, at some point, Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. At some point, we have all failed in our walk with Christ. Every single one of us has slipped and fallen. Our kids are going to do the same as that thing. But as long as we've trained them up in the way they should go, eventually if they depart from it, God is going to put his hand back on them and be like, okay, it's time to get back on the straight and narrow because you know what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah, you got back on the horse, but you're not necessarily walking straight.
Exactly.
That's
so
right.
you go into the
guidance.
You go into the prodigal son. The prodigal son knew what he was supposed to be doing. He's supposed to stay there until he gets his blessing from his father when he dies. But he's like, hey, give me my blessing right now. And he gets his blessing. He goes and spends it on a foreign city. It tells us that he spends it on gambling. Well, then he's cast out into the slop feeding pigs. And he's like, man, I would love to eat them corn husks that pig's eating. And then it clicks in his mind because who his father was. He's like, my servants at my father's house is not having to look at pig husk and be like, I would love to eat that. They have food. I'm going to go ask my dad if I could just be a servant for him. And the whole story just summed up real quick is the father sees him coming from afar off and runs to meet him and says, my lost son has returned. Slay the fattest calf and let's have a party. If you put that into the scripture side of things, besides actually scripture, that's how Jesus sees us. We're lost. As long as we submit ourselves to him, he sees us like, my son or my daughter has returned. Let us all rejoice. Not just this party over here rejoice, not this denomination over here rejoice, all rejoice. And for me to read my verse that I always try to end on a verse and end on a prayer is going to be Matthew 16. We'll do 24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And we'll go through 26. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to a man that gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will be a man to give in exchange for his soul? Since this is my first big interview, what do y'all take from that verse? my biggest thing I take from is verse 26. I always like to say the meat and taters of things. And 26 where it says, "For what profit is a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul?" Whenever I was real bad in my walk with Christianity, or not my walk with Christianity, before I got back on my path with Christianity, I was an alcoholic. And I was giving up my world. My world revolved around, even whenever I had kids, I didn't have kids at this time, whenever I was an alcoholic, but my world revolved around that bottle. I thought I could heal all of my pain if I reached to the bottom of that bottle, and that was never going to happen. So my whole world evolved around the bottle. So I gave up my soul for the bottle of liquor, and I didn't gain nothing from it. I didn't gain what I have now in my walk with Christ from it. And Jesus, I was trained up in church. My mom and dad didn't go to church, but I had a grandma that if you was at her house, you was going to church. And she took me into church and had people pray for me. And I'll tell everybody, we always hear about the praying mamas and the praying grandmas. We're men here right now, and I'm challenging y'all. I always do a challenge. We always hear about the praying mama and the praying grandma. As men, we have to pray too. We have to change that scenario of, oh, my mama's going to pray for me, or my grandma's going to pray for me. Your sons or your daughters, my daughters, your daughter is going to be at that point where they're going to need prayer. We have to step up and be men, the spiritual heads of our house, and pray for our kids, which I know y'all do. So that's my challenge to all of y'all sitting around this, and I challenge every listener out there right now, quit waiting for somebody to lead the prayer for your family. Step up and lead the prayer for your family. Y'all got any closing remarks? I appreciate y'all being my first ever multi-guest people.
Absolutely.
I posted on the social medias that these are going to be out of order because I recorded so many of them and just scheduled them out that I'm going to have to reschedule because I don't want these to sit on a back burner and not get released till November. So this episode will probably be released next Saturday at 7 a.m. And once again, I thank y'all. We're going to have an awesome weekend, and we are out.